here with Wes Fulford. He is the CEO of Bitfarms. We did an interview with Wes, I think it was a couple weeks ago, but now we're down at Consensus together, and there's a lot of action here. There's 10,000 people, and we had actually last night in our crypto cabin about 100 investors and some of the biggest mining companies in the world, and in North America. Bitfarms is one of those companies, and they've got 27.5 megawatts, and they've got another, is it 130? 135 contracted to go. So that's huge. So tell us about your operations in Quebec. You guys are entirely clean power. But one of the aspects we didn't talk about last time was the kind of lack of air conditioning that you guys have in these operations that give off a lot of heat. Most mining operations have to pay a lot of money to cool down those operations. You guys don't have that issue.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, in Quebec, the province itself is a phenomenal place to operate, right? When you think of La Belle Province and 50, 60 years ago, there was, a major manufacturing industry there, aluminum, forestry, et cetera. And with that came the build out of a bunch of surplus infrastructure that's no longer being used, and that includes real estate. So we've, been able to go out and build 4 farms to date, 27.5 megawatts. Again, our pipeline is 135 behind that, but there's plenty of power available. It's all hydroelectricity. It's all green energy. It's very reasonable on a cost perspective, and over the last 2.5 years, we've been sort of tweaking the design of our facilities. So our first industrial scale property was built back in 2016. The new format of our operations are industry leading. We've discussed other media sources and miners using photographs of our farms, because there really is not an industrial scale mine that exists that we've seen to date that's sort of at the same standards we are. But with that build out, we've with our in-house technical and engineering team, we've really sort of optimized efficiencies. All of our power goes into hashing. The wonderful thing about Quebec again is it's a cold, clean environment, so we don't spend any money on cooling. We don't waste any of the power that's installed in our facilities. All of it goes into hash power.
Is that the same for even in the summertime? Do you still not need air conditioning, or is it just for the other 8 or 10 months of the year where it's freezing?
Yeah, no, I mean all summer long. You'll see 30-degree temperatures for a few weeks during the summer in Quebec. No different than Ontario or Manitoba or wherever. But in general, as long as you're pulling more air out of the facility on the exhaust side of the miners, then they're exhausting. You create sort of a natural flow of air going through the facilities. This negative pressure system, and that negative pressure system is essential to sort of drawing out the warm air and keeping these machines operating in sort of that thermal sort of targeted condition or range of temperatures.
So that's amazing. Tell us, so you're down here at Consensus, and there's a lot of companies here looking to raise capital for their ICOs and their new coin and their whole project, and they don't really talk to kind of the mining community that often. Those two groups don't really come together because, it's just they operate in different environments. You guys are finance, Bay Street, you've got capital, and you've got the operations, but these guys are kind of, not from Bay Street. So how have your conversations gone with some of the new people that you've met here at Consensus?
We brought a fairly big team down to Consensus just because it's a great opportunity to network and hear news stories and what the latest sort of trends are in industry. But truth be told, I've only sat through one presentation for the last 3 days. So we've been busy doing meetings off-site, sort of strategic meetings and management meetings and meetings with investors, et cetera. And so it's just a good time to network in general. The pulse of the sort of environment and the attendees down here is obviously fairly electric. It's a huge conference. It's a bit chaotic. But generally speaking, I think we just need to be here, being a market leader and wanting to continue to grow our business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the more ICOs there are, or STOs are now JCOs, like I can't keep up with all of these acronyms. That just means that there's going to be more demand for, industrial scale operations. And if you guys can kind of standardize it and make it as efficient and profitable as possible, maybe you'll be someday basically loaning out your playbook to other companies that may not know how to do this. So,
yeah, I think we've talked a little bit about the two groups of players in this industry. We are Group B, the group that's been focused on integration and optimal efficiencies. The wonderful thing about being focused on vertical integration, acquiring electrical contractor, centralizing repair facilities, working on sort of our initiatives on the hardware side, it affords us some luxuries from a speed of build out and an efficiency standpoint that many of our competitors are struggling with right now. At the end of the day, what's going to rule the world in this business is access to power, but once you have the power, you have to be able to sort of maximize cash flows. So we've taken strides to make sure that we can defend our position, and all of our sort of organic cash flow from operations is going into redeploying it in CapEx and building out our operations.
And any update on potentially a listing on the venture, or what's the progress on that looking like?
Yeah, we're listed in Israel, and we've discussed this is a quick path to a public listing in a fairly crowded market in Canada. A former banker, is involved in funding some other crypto stories, and the luxury we have right now is not having ever taken a dollar from the public markets. So we've to date been able to bootstrap this to get it to where it is today, and we continue to be able to fund our operational growth through cash flows. So in a North American listing is certainly something we're investigating, but it's not something we need to have in the near term. But there is a path and some discussions ongoing about listing in Canada or the US.
And have you gone over to Europe at all and talked with some of the investors over there? And is the appetite much different? I mean, you would have met with all the institutions in Canada that have participated in these financings. So you're a banker and everything. But what's the pulse like over there? Are they more open to this because there's less opportunities for them to invest because most of the deals have been done back here in North America? Or what's the appetite like there?
It's hard to say because my knowledge on the subject is a little premature. I am heading to Israel in 2 weeks to do a non-deal roadshow to meet some of our shareholders over there, and I'll have a better sort of view on that afterwards. But Israel in general, there are several blockchain and crypto stories listed on the TAS. There is a market. There is support over there. It's, I would say, a little bit behind where we're at in North America, certainly looking at the success of this conference and the attendees. But to be determined, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I heard Consensus is netting $10 million this year on their conference. Maybe they should do a traveling roadshow to Israel as well. Have Bitfarms title sponsor. Anyhow, thanks for joining us. We'll get an update from you in a couple quarters and see where you guys are at, and any predictions on where the Bitcoin price will be then.
I think we all generally believe it's going to be at 20 grand by the year end.
Yeah, testing new highs for sure, right?
I mean, there's lots of fundamental reasons we think that we're sort of bullish on where things are heading. The cost of mining, the asset class, and then the utility of the coin itself, the reason why this was developed back in 2009. So the luxury we have as being one of the lowest cost miners out there is we can make cash. We can make strong margins even at $5,000 or $6,000 a coin. We may be selling them for less money, but we're mining more because some of the competition has come off the network.
That's amazing. And another bullish point that I just heard today is Goldman Sachs has launched their own digital currency. So I have to look into that. But all signs point to new highs on this stuff. Anyways, thanks for joining us, Wes.